Who's not coming down the track? Who's not coming down the track? And the leader she is red and white. Ain't nothing finer in the land. Ain't nothing finer in the land. When the drums are marching straight to bed. Come on, come on.
What's up, y'all? This is John and Caleb back for another episode of the Nothing Finer podcast. I do want to, before we get started doing anything else, kind of tell you guys about our schedule moving forward for the rest of the off season and more than likely into next season as well. We're gonna be recording Monday evenings and then on Wednesdays for interviews during the season, Thursdays for previews, and during the off season we'll be doing Mondays and Thursdays moving forward. But we are working on lining up a bunch of super cool interviews over the next probably month, 6 weeks or so, and just trying to get the off season started off right. Hopefully here soon we'll be talking to Adam Spencer about March Madness, whether Dogs a decent seed. Sometime before Valentine's Day weekend and baseball starts, we're going to be talking to Chris Phillips about the outlook of the SEC, doing our normal like off-season benchmark episodes. But we're pretty excited about having a little bit of creative freedom this time of year and just kind of getting back into the roots of the show and having fun and kind of making the kind of content we want to instead of just game recap, game recap, game recap. Like I love watching the games and I love breaking down the stats of it, but at a certain point, with how long the season is now, it gets to be a little bit of a slog of where you just feel like you can't be creative with anything.
Yeah, that I will say it can be a lot more fun just like finding things to talk about and really deep diving into those things.
Yes, at some point this off season, we are going to do a few, or I'm going to call it college football conspiracy episodes. Um,
Yes.
and what that is we're probably going to start it off with hopefully get the three of us together and one of us, whoever's presenting their conspiracy, this is how we're going to do this. Whoever's presenting their conspiracy needs to be drinking or on some sort of substance. Just makes it more fun, right? And they present their conspiracy, whether it is, for example, let's say, um, uh, Kirby Smart threw the 2021 SEC title game because Greg Sankey wanted him to do that so that we could go to a 12-team playoff. I, you know, Whoever presents that is a little inebriated, goes through all the different things they want to talk about, and then whoever else is on the podcast with the presenter that night has to rate it on how much they buy the conspiracy. Spoiler, mine are probably almost always going to be nines or tens because I love a good conspiracy. I'm always
Hmm.
in. Whether I truly believe it or not, I'm going to go around spouting it off like it's a fact and you're dumb for not knowing it. That's just one of my favorite things. Um, but you know, I, let's get into the purpose of why we're on here tonight, and that is Georgia basketball, guys. Look
Heck
at
yeah.
us.
Look at us.
No, we are going to get into the national championship game. By now, you've listened to probably four other college football podcasts that have had their spin on it, and we're not necessarily going to recap the game because it's been like it's been beaten to death, and then probably the zombie's been beaten into a ghost. It's been
Hmm.
talked about so much. So we're gonna take a little bit of a different spin on it. You could call us a hater. You probably wouldn't be wrong. Um, but just do your own research, man.
Yeah.
All right, are you ready to get into it?
Yeah. So where are we starting first? Are we going to be laughing at a certain individual first, or are we going to do the other thing?
All right, no. We got to start it off. We got to start it off with just we. I said it on the interview with Connor. I said if this game is close, Carson's going to actually like physically throw it away.
Yes, and boy did he. In
Um,
classic Carson Beck fashion, underthrow it into double coverage and then blame the receiver for running the wrong route after the game.
and here's the thing: if that was slightly deeper into the outside, that's a touchdown. Miami
Hmm.
is national champions. Carson Beck is, looking both directions at like he's got to pull a trophy to one side or the other to see it. And a trophy he actually earned this time and not rode Stetson's coattails to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Or Gunner's coattails for his SEC championship.
Very fair. That stat that's gone around, I'm sure we've all seen it by this point, but I just want to say it out loud again. Carson Beck's complicated legacy for the rest of college football, because if you're a Georgia fan, you already know his legacy. He's lost just 6 games in his college career, and 4 of them, the final offensive play was a Carson Beck interception with a chance to win. And I did a little bit deeper of a dive. Do you know which games those were?
Yeah, I actually do off the top of my head, and 3 of them were not at the University of Georgia.
Correct.
It was, I believe, the away game against Alabama in 24. That
Mm-hmm.
was at Georgia. When he tried to throw it up to Colby Young, just didn't get it high enough. There was the game against Louisville that we all laughed very hard about, where he threw 4 and could have been 5 interceptions.
It was 5. One of them just got called back.
Yeah. Then the SMU game this
Mm-hmm.
year, and finally it was this national championship game. Every game that Miami lost this season was the result of a Carson Beck interception at the last minute.
But if you listen to guys like Big J journalist Josh Pate and Brad Crawford, Georgia was the problem. Carson Beck's the best quarterback in the country. Everyone was sleeping on him.
Yeah, Georgia was just holding him back, just would not let him play his way.
It was not letting him throw game-losing interceptions. I guess you could say that.
Yeah. If that's his way, then I guess we were doing something right with that.
So one thing that I'm sure I'm one of the few people that picked up on. Did you see during the Kurt Signetti interview on the field immediately post game? Did you see who was hovering around behind him looking for one particular person?
Can't say I caught this, so go on
Josh
ahead.
Pate was clearly looking for Carson Beck because he was scanning the Miami sideline
Mhm.
so hard.
Well, Carson Beck was too busy not shaking anybody's hand.
Uh huh. Yeah, I don't look. I have different opinions about Indiana and Fernando Mendoza, but at the end of the day, they did what it took to win.
Hmm.
They, and specifically for Fernando Mendoza, literally got his ass beat up and down the field and found a way to win that football game, which,
Hmm.
just full circle moment. The targeting that wasn't in the Cal game last year that should have knocked Miami out of the playoff. The guy that knocked Fernando Mendoza out of that game, quite literally knocked him out on the field, couldn't play the rest of the game, was the same guy that Fernando ran over to get into the end zone on that 4th and 5 play.
Hell yeah.
And that's just love that.
Hmm.
Love that.
Yeah, good on you, Fernando. Again, I'm with you. I have a very different opinion of him than most people do, but good for you
And
in that scenario.
man, I hope Lego sends you a college football playoff trophy set that you can build out of Lego. But
There we go.
also, please, please make that. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Like I'll have a Lego college football playoff trophy sitting behind me over here. Like uh, take the background down. I will absolutely do that.
Very true. But yeah, I don't know. I've seen a lot of people defending Carson Beck's behavior after the game.
Do they happen to be
Online.
Miami fans?
No, but most of them happen to be children, and I would guess that those children never played any kind of sport in their life
Z or Alpha?
because probably somewhere on the line, if I had to
Oh
guess
yeah,
from the
yeah,
people
that
leaving those
tracks.
comments.
That tracks.
So yeah, those are the worst people, is the ones on that line. But I would guess they've never played any kind of sport because that's sportsmanship 101. I don't care if you go out there and get skull dragged by 100. I don't care if you're like the Glen Hills High School girls basketball team here that got beat 99-0 last week. You go out there and you shake everybody's hand, and you know, because ultimately what this is a game, and by shaking each other's hands you're affirming I see you as a human being, and congratulations, or hey, you'll get them next time. Like, that's just what you do. That's just what sports is.
And let's be honest, at their age, and I specifically mean Carson Beck and
Whose ages, both of them, if you're talking about Vinoza as well, are approximately 45 years old.
well, no, I was saying Carson Beck, and then the average age of the entire Indiana roster.
Okay, so
Like
yeah,
y'all are
approximately
grown.
45 years old.
So just spoiler, we're gonna get to this. These were 23-year-olds, right?
Mhm.
So at 23, I have already been married, bought a house, and I was training for my first deployment. That's grown men age. 23 is
Yeah,
grown men. If you're not a grown man by 23, you need your right to vote and your license taken away. Like you
facts.
need to figure some things out. So kind of the crux of what we've been dancing around all night. I think we both have different opinions of different takes on the same opinion that we both believe this Indiana team is hyperinflated because they're the first 16 no team in history.
Yeah. Yeah, I really wanted to talk about this too because there is a lot of talk about them being among the best college football teams of all time. Some people even saying the best of all time
Do these
because they won
people
16 games.
do these people first off, first question, it's two. Um, is this person one of the Bussin' with the Boys hosts?
That was one of these that I've seen.
Okay. And second, did this person also say that 2023 Michigan was the greatest college football team of all time?
I believe so, which is
All right. Invalid
yeah.
opinion.
Yeah,
Look, and
completely.
I don't have anything against Bussin' with the Boys, but if there were bigger Big Ten homers
Hmm.
not named Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt, I don't know of them.
Right. Yeah, so and this talking point to me is almost as ridiculous as the whole Kurt Cignetti's a better coach than Kirby Smart nonsense, but I'm not going to talk about that one because that is just pure rage bait. Whereas for some reason people actually seem to believe that Indiana deserves to be labeled the greatest college football team of all time simply because they had a slightly longer season in a different format. And to me that argument makes precisely no sense just on its face, because I can guarantee you that if the 2019 LSU team had to play another game, they'd have won it.
And probably once again by like 30 plus points.
Yeah. If the second greatest college football team of all time, the 2022 Georgia Bulldogs, fight me, had to play another game, they'd have won it.
As long as it was not Ohio State directly after losing to Michigan.
Or on the road against Missouri. But
They actually won both of those
they
games.
did win both
We
of the
all
games, so
forget
we
that.
can't. Yeah. It didn't feel like it in the Missouri game in particular. But yeah, and again, neither of us are going to say that this Indiana team isn't very good.
Right.
They were going undefeated in this era of college football is extremely tough. I'd be willing to entertain them as a top 5 team in the college football playoff era. I think that's a conversation we can have. But I can't say they're the best just because they played an extra game. But what I will say is if we somehow worked out time travel and put this 2025 Indiana team against the 2023 Michigan team, the result would depend entirely on whether Connor Stallions got a hold of the time machine to do some advanced scouting before the game.
Yeah. And so while I agree with everything you said, if y'all have listened to the show for a while, I can do next to nothing without finding reasons to numbers and stats to back it up.
Yeah, I'm more of a instinct, kind of guy when it comes to these things, and he's the research guy, and he does actual valid research for everything.
I can tell you my workout took me a half hour longer today because I would be looking up a stat and be like, oh yeah, I got to do another set. Um, so,
Nice.
and I will say mostly everything that I'm going to say is about Indiana's regular season and the lack of competition therein because I don't think you can take really much of anything away from the postseason performance just because of the way that they dominated every team they played up into Indiana. Or not Indiana, Miami, right?
Hmm.
But in the regular season, Indiana's regular season power conference opponents, which was only their conference opponents because they canceled their game against Virginia,
Hmm.
um, power conference opponent record was 50 and 58.
Yikes.
Yeah. Indiana played two teams in the regular season that finished the season ranked. Indiana had one starter from the regular season hurt going into the playoff, and he was hurt celebrating the Big Ten title game.
Oof.
That was a defensive lineman, one of the deepest positions on their entire team, one of the only positions on defense they were actually good at last season, brought most of those guys back this year. So, and we can honestly say, by the way, that they gave up an average of 85 rushing yards per game up into the national championship. They didn't really hurt them a whole lot that they were missing that one guy. That is the only starter from week one that did not play in the playoff. That's because they had an easy regular season. Nobody got hurt.
Hmm.
They didn't play starters in most fourth quarters. The average age of Indiana starters, 23 years old.
Hmm.
The average age of an NFL team, 25.
Yeah. But basically the equivalent of second-year NFL players filling up that roster. Contrast that with a team like Georgia, who's full of 18, 19-year-olds.
Uh-huh. Fernando Mendoza averaged 185 passing yards per game in the playoff. That is slightly. No, it's actually about the same as Carson Beck because Carson had in the last two playoff games he had a decent amount, but in the first two playoff games he had 120 and 130.
Yeah.
My big issue with calling Indiana the greatest college football team of all time is their lack of regular season competition.
Hmm.
I mean, go back to 2019 LSU. They had that away game at Texas in the wildest Texas environment that has ever been.
Hmm.
They were playing an Auburn team with the top 5 defense. They played Alabama in Tuscaloosa and won a shootout.
Yep.
Meanwhile, Indiana's toughest competition, Penn State, finished the season 7-6 after beating disappointment of the year Clemson. This Penn State team almost beat Indiana, who needed a last-second miraculous catch. It was a bad throw by Fernando Mendoza. Um, Iowa, juggernaut, almost beat Indiana. Still finished season ranked 119th in total offense. An Oregon team that was absolutely decimated by injuries going into the home game against Indiana, in which they did almost win.
Hmm.
Ohio State with a first-year starter at quarterback, and Alabama with absolutely no running game to speak of. They were held to negative yards in the game in their SEC championship game.
Yeah.
And then Miami
The
team.
Alabama win would have looked a lot more impressive had it not been for Georgia beating the brakes off them a few weeks before.
Mm-hmm. And then the last game of the season, a Miami team where the most surprising thing about Miami on Monday night was Carson Beck only throwing one interception.
Hmm.
So, I
Granted,
think
it was the only one he needed to throw.
Fair. But I think it's recency bias that the
Yeah.
16th game is the reason that they're being talked about in the same breadth as 2019 LSU, 2018 Clemson, or 2022 Georgia. I personally would put 2021 Georgia over Indiana because of the defense that 2021 Georgia had.
Fair.
I would put last year's Ohio State team over this Indiana team because we saw that that Ohio State team was capable of winning games in multiple ways. They had their defense step up at times and dominate games. They had their offense step up and win shootouts. They had offensive shootouts where the defense stepped up on the last series of the game to win it. Like I think last year's Ohio State team was still better than this Indiana team, but I think this Indiana team had the perfect culmination of talent and experience in a down year for the rest of college football.
Fair.
And strike while the iron's hot. You you cannot win a national title without being really good and really lucky.
Mm-hmm.
With the season this long, the ball has to bounce the right way at the right time. That's just how it is, right? Like they got 5 turnovers against Oregon. 3 of those were luck. Like if a fumble with an egg-shaped ball bounces a different direction, they don't get it, right? Like they don't get the ball at the 20 with some of those fumbles. You have to be very good and very lucky, and they capitalize on being good, and they manage to get the right luck at the right time. Still a very good team. I don't want to take anything away from them, and I know it sounds like I'm trying to, but when you have somebody swinging the pendulum over here to the greatest team of all time, somebody has to swing it back this way so you can get in the middle and be like, yeah, they're probably top 5.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know. Like I don't want to take anything away from them, but I also don't want to give them the world because their poop's still a little shiny and the flies ain't found it yet.
Valid.
All right, so we need to get into. This is the first time we really talked about it in depth. We got to get into the basketball game, the team, I should
Yeah,
say.
we really do.
And
And because I keep making posts about how much I believe in this basketball team now, and people keep telling me not to
did
because they're
I send? I made a meme. Oh, I did send it to the group today. Okay, I need to actually post it, but I just want to make sure
yeah,
I sent it.
yeah, you did. Um, yeah, so let's talk about this Georgia basketball team because what we're used to seeing, I'm sure you'll agree, the last few years with Mike White is that this Georgia basketball team looks really good and really impressive in the non-conference. And then we get to SEC play, and it takes a week or two for the wheels to fall off and us to see, oh, okay, it was just a level of competition. That's normally how that goes. Right now, we are 6 games in to the conference schedule, which is about where you'd expect the wheels to fall off for this Georgia basketball team. Uh, Sitting at 4-2 in the conference. This Georgia basketball team has still lost only 3 games in the entire season. One of them, or 2 of those rather, were in overtime, and one of them was on the road against the defending national champions.
Yeah,
So it's not like there's head scratchers in there. Well, the Ole Miss lost this past Wednesday or last Wednesday is a bit of a head scratcher, but that was overtime. Stuff happens.
yeah. And
Uh,
so I'll be honest, y'all. I don't have much of anything to say except for highlights that I've seen because the 5 minutes that I've had an opportunity to watch of Georgia basketball this year was the 5 minutes that it looked like Arkansas was going to run away with the game, and that was at a bar. As much as I would love to watch games, anytime that I have sat down and watched the end of a Georgia basketball game, Georgia loses. Um, like the NIT situation from a couple years ago. That was the first basketball game I watched all season, the one they lost in the
yeah,
tournament.
yeah.
Um,
Let's not do that.
yeah, so as much as I would love to watch these games, for every other Georgia basketball fan out there, I can't do it. I'm sorry.
That's fair. Well, I have been watching, and this has been a very exciting and explosive team to watch. A lot of really fun guys on this roster. I'm going to pull up the roster just so I can make sure I talk about everybody in turn that needs to be talked about. Blue Kane is a big favorite of all of
Oh yeah, of
ours.
course.
Just Mr. Consistency out there on the court. Samto Cyril. I
It's an
think
animal.
some. Yeah, absolutely. Blocking shots like crazy. I think somebody said statistically Georgia basketball is 14 points better when he's on the court.
Yeah, I can see that, and that's So he's what, a junior now?
Yeah,
Sophomore.
he's a sophomore. He's a sophomore.
In the games that I watched last year, he was absolutely the difference maker on the team.
Oh yeah,
Um, he's a giant. He hurts people, and he fouls out. Um,
yeah. All of that is very much still true. We were actually shocked in the Arkansas game the other day, or maybe it was the Missouri game, one of those games. I think it was Arkansas, where he had made it through a majority of the second half, even before he'd even fouled anybody, and that was insane.
and that is shocking.
Yeah, knowing how he does things. But Dylan James is also incredible. Jeremiah Wilkinson has been a revelation out there.
Yeah.
So just a really, really stacked team. Plenty of guys at every position. Actually getting rebounds on defense, which has been huge. That's been something that I've been very angry about. Got a nice win over number 17 ranked Arkansas by double digits. When you look at the quad system, which for those of you who don't know, it's essentially an objective measure to decide who gets into the NCAA tournament at what seed, and which I know,
Wait.
being
Do you,
mostly a football podcast, it's crazy to hear there's objective measurements for who makes a playoff in a sport.
right. It's like I don't understand. Nobody liked objective measurements when it came down to computer systems. Why are we using them in
Mm,
other sports?
right. And so a big thing, so the quad system is basically a way to measure a team's wins. And so a quad one win would be, a team. It shifts based on what. So I think it's a top 30 win at home, a top 50 win in a neutral site, and a top 75 win on the road, which is fair because winning on the road is really, really hard in college basketball. It just is, especially once you get into conference play. And then quad two is somewhere just below that. But in terms of quad wins, Georgia ranks 18th in the country right now, which if that holds up, that would make them a five. Hang on. I need to math this right. Yeah, it would make them a five seed in the NCAA tournament, which would be pretty good. Be a
All
pretty
right.
good spot to be in, although five seeds get upset a lot. Georgia basketball also, by the way, has the number one scoring offense in the entire nation, and that has been true for the entirety of the season so far.
And they broke their school record for most games of scoring 100 points in like
In a
the
whole
first
season,
month of the season.
yeah,
And they broke the record for the entire season and then had like three more games of over
yeah,
100 points.
yeah. They've had one game over 100 points since conference play started, and they broke that record. That should tell you a lot.
So
This
what website are you looking at for non-normal basketball people like me?
So there's a few different places that just do net rankings. Bart Torvik is one I was looking at.
Okay,
He
that's
is
what I got pulled up.
there's also a bballnet.com that has like the full net rankings, which include quad wins and different things that they look at. They actually have 1 through 100 and whatever ranked, and or 200 and whatever ranked, 300 and whatever ranked in
Good Lord.
the net rankings, all of them. And but again, when it's based on objective measures, you can actually do that. So there's a few different places you can look at it. The NCAA doesn't have like an official site where they look at those. They don't really do that until the tournament actually comes. But there are places where you can look at that and see based on the objective measures where Georgia is ranking. So yeah, and long story short, Georgia basketball actually good, which is something that many of us have not expected to say in our entire lifetimes.
Yeah, no, it honestly does feel shocking that we're talking about Georgia as being a legitimately seeded team.
Yeah,
Um, and I think we've talked about it on the podcast of if if Georgia makes the tournament this year, regardless of what happens in the tournament, this is only the second time this century they'll have made tournaments in back-to-back years.
yeah.
And we're talking about postseason play in general. If they make the tournament this year, this is a third straight season with postseason play for the first time this century. Nuts.
Yeah, absolutely nuts. I still remember 2008, like not paying any attention to Georgia basketball whatsoever, and they fluke their way to winning the SEC championship. And I'm like, what's happening? And that was the most successful season in my lifetime for Georgia basketball up until last season.
Yeah. And one thing that I've noticed about, once again, clips, highlights, as much as I can do without watching the games live, is that, and the big difference from when I watched in person and on TV, Tom Crean coached games to Mike White coached games, is one, they actually play defense. It's no longer
Hmm.
optional, it's mandatory. A breath of fresh air. Two,
Not only do they play defense, they play really physical defense like you would hope a Georgia team would.
right. The second thing that I notice is they actually go for rebounds.
Hmm.
But the important to me, because when I played basketball, which I did for a while until everybody else got as tall as I was, and then I wasn't
Felt.
good enough. I may have scored a total of 10 points in my entire basketball career, but it's the best person on defense, and I was getting double doubles off of blocks and rebounds.
Hmm.
They're going for rebounds on the offensive side of the court, which is something that I legitimately did research at one point under the Tom Crean era. Georgia was last in the country in offensive rebounds under Tom Crean.
Yeah,
They didn't
yeah. It
try.
was it was it was always a point of frustration for me. Like, why do you not just try to get the ball and get yourself a second chance?
Right. If you're not going to make it, you have a lot better chance of making it from under the basket where you pick up the rebound than you do from 5 feet outside of the arc.
Hmm.
But hey, Tom Crean, his entire career is built off of coaching Dwayne Wade.
Yeah.
So, um, all right, I think that is going to do it, unless you have anything else to talk about.
I don't think so. That pretty much covered it.
All right, oh, Georgia, according to Baseball America, number 6 in the country to start the season. Currently projected to host another regional and super regional if they get that far. So we're super excited about baseball season. Number 1 transfer class in the country. Brought in more pitching and some hitters. So we're super excited about that. We will be talking to Chris Phillips
Mhm.
sometime in the next 2 or 3 weeks, getting ready for that. But
Here's hoping we can actually get to Omaha this time.
yeah, we can hope.
We can hope.
Um, if you want to know where all of that is, follow us on social media at nothing.finerpod on Instagram, at finerpod on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Just look us up. You will find us there. If you haven't clicked off yet, vote for us. Nomination, Connect Savannah, Best Podcast. We are going for it. Um, and as soon as we get through the nomination period into the voting period, y'all are going to hate to see our post because I am obnoxiously every day vote for us because if we make it, we are kidnapping Kaleb. We promised to do it last year, and some stupid NASCAR podcast by a TV host beat us out. So I would love to have a reason to kidnap Kaleb.
There we go.
Help us out. But as always, y'all remember there's nothing finer in the land.
And a drunk, obnoxious Georgia fan.